was a great day. It was a great day today. Just a lot of great energy. Really good to have the full team out there, see the guys working, and then just finished off, moved the ball a little bit, so we were able to kind of get some of the different areas of the field, middle of the field, some third down stuff, some red zone. So really just trying to test the guys on all the things we've been covering for the spring. This kind of being their final exams, if you will. But I loved the finish. It was high spirited. Guys were talking to each other. And it was good to just be able to do that. And, I was having some flashbacks going against Ajero over there. And I'm just amazed, just some of the calls and the presence of mind he has in situations, some of the stuff that went out there. So loved it. It was a great day.
You close out on 2 flash plays, one by the offense, one by the defense.
Yeah.
To close out strong on both sides, how good is that, knowing that you've got playmakers on both sides, I guess?
Yeah, it's great. And it's the message I'm trying to sell to the team is we make us. That's how it works. When we're all pursuing our best, we're not trying to kick the other guy's butt across from us. That's not the mentality. The mentality is, can I find my best today? That'll be good enough. And that'll be really challenging for the guy across from you, whether it's the matchups inside with, Rob Hunt and Derek Brown, or whether it's a matchup outside. We had Deontay against J.C. Horn. I mean, that's a premier matchup in this league, So those are the things that are exciting. And especially as we get tighter and tighter with our defensive calls, the offense has to execute at another level. And so it went back and forth a little bit today, and that was really cool to see.
Coach, Eddie was here today after missing a lot of the voluntary OTAs or whatnot, but he did not kick. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I'm going to have to check with Tracy just to see where he's at. Maybe just a conditioning thing or something like that. But Harrison had another good day, kicked it hard. It was great to see Eddie today. Got a chance to kind of hang with him a little bit. And we actually had run into each other in the past. We have a mutual friend. So it was kind of cool to just, get to know him and really just welcome him into what we're doing here. He's been here, before I got here, but certainly with this, new coaching staff and everything, it was really good to just be able to connect with him.
Dave, he missed the last 2 games of the season with a groin deal. Has his absence been in any way injury related?
No, it has not. This is just it's a voluntary thing, and this is him just going through his process for the spring. So just want to respect that with the guys as they have a plan for the season.
DJ Johnson was carted off. Do you have any information about what happened?
We don't. We're going to get a look at him this afternoon at some point. They'll get an MRI. They'll check everything out. So I think it was in a special teams drill. So just really hoping for the best with that.
Is Miles sorry, go for it.
Just follow up on Johnson and overall depth at the edge.
Yeah.
Conley's back, and I didn't see Leota today.
Yeah, so he's got a little bit of a calf that he's dealing with here, so he's shut down for the minicamp, but we're expecting him to be full go when training camp comes.
Being back, how much does that solidify that group?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's the vision, right, is to have him in here and being the destructive football player that we know he is. And so now it's about just getting this information this week and then just kind of prepping and having a plan for when we come back into camp and just making sure that he's up to speed with all the calls and things we're doing.
Dave, how hard is it to kind of build a defensive plan around Jadeveon? He's been kind of in and out while we've been out there. How hard is it, because that's such a central part of the identity, to sort of plan when he hadn't been here?
Honestly, it's a system, and this is a really good system that Ajero has and has his coaching staff, teaching our guys. And so the way that we see it is, if we teach good football, if our X's and O's are right, when we add these premier players into the mix, it just really accentuates all of it and really makes it dangerous. But to your point, those outside rushes are an important part of what we do. So it was really good to see him out there. But in the meantime, it's still scheme is scheme. And especially in this phase right now in OTAs and minicamp, where it's not full go, we're not full padded. So a lot of the pass rushes, they start, but they can't finish at the quarterback, So it's I guess the emphasis is just on the execution of the calls and the scheme.
And between him and Wanham, how much of a sense do you have for what they'll be able to do once it's time to do that?
We'll have a plan for that. I'll be with, Coach Altoff, our performance director, and be able to kind of come up with a plan for some guys to just make sure that they're getting the right amount of work going into training camp. But we got to be smart about that, And so we got to bring DJ along at his pace, and we got to bring JD along as well. A lot of initials here, but so we just have to be really smart about that and make sure that the guys get enough work, but not too much. And so I think there's a sweet spot that we just have to find for those guys.
Does the energy level pick up when a guy like Clowney's back around?
Honestly, the core group of these guys is just a really hard-working group. They love to come to work. They love to work out together. So I think that we're just asking Jadeveon to just to do his part, So as far as the energy and all that, I can envision JD on Sundays, during the week. The group of guys, the leadership that we have, it's a place where he's just going to be able to come in and focus on doing his job. So we're not really relying on him for that.
Dave, is Miles still precautionary measure with the heel?
Yes. Yeah. So just being smart about it. The goal now we have this week, but as we get closer and closer to the start of camp, what is that, 5 or 6 weeks away, So you hear like the injury timelines, right? They're 4 to 6. They're 6 to 8. We're in that time crunch. So we have to be really smart with anybody who's got anything that might be a little bit lit up right now. This is a really great week for us to just have them focus on the mental part of it and just get them ahead of the game when we go into camp.
Where have you seen the most progression or improvement in Bryce from the first day you met him to today?
I would say just the comfort and familiarity with our terms, with the plays. Today was by far his best day just operating the offense. The execution of the plays, defense makes plays too. But as far as like the getting out of the huddle, getting to the line of scrimmage, moving the shifts and motions, using the cadence, figuring problems out with the protections, this was a fantastic day for Bryce in understanding what we're trying to get done.
Dave, David Moore is a guy that you've worked several different places with. What does he bring to the room as far as understanding your language and what you want to get out of practice during this offseason program?
Yeah, you said it. It's the veteran mentality. He's got a way about going, getting to work, preparing himself, studying, maybe taking that little extra time to look over what's happening on the next day. So he brings a professionalism. And then I think he also just brings a real hunger and humility for this. This is his 7th year in the NFL. And just understanding that there are challenges, he can put himself into the shoes of a young receiver. It took David really 2.5, 3 years to establish himself as a guy that we really counted on in Seattle. And so he's also just a great encouragement for some of those guys who are in that type of phase in that room that are trying to figure out their role, the way that they do things. So he's just a great person, a great character guy to have in the room.
He made some plays for you in Tampa last year late. I mean, were you expecting him to be able to come in and contribute that quickly once you in the playoffs?
I did. We had all the faith and confidence in David, and I think, that situation, we had Trey Palmer, a rookie out of Nebraska. We also had Rakim Jarrett, who's out of Maryland. And these are young guys who needed to get out there and play. And so David kind of, by default just ended up one guy removed. So he was on our practice squad for most of that time, but still came to work every day, was still communicating in the room, just the stuff that we were talking about, and really added value to our team there. He's doing the same thing here, and I'd imagine when David gets his opportunities, he'll take advantage of it.
Jadeveon was in Seattle for such a short time, and obviously you're a different side of the football, but curious what you knew about him from his brief time there, and maybe if you've learned something new about him this offseason.
For my time in Seattle, just a game changer. I think he had a pick 6 in Arizona. One of the biggest plays I remember. But when he was out there, he was causing problems. And then, he battled with some injuries that year. And I think, just for him to be able to put together a full season last year, really have the best year career-wise from a stat standpoint last year, is really cool to see him just mature into this. Is like, this is the amount of work I need, and this is what I can do. I can be disruptive on Sundays. And so we're really counting on that part.
Do you look for different things when you see a guy in the offseason, obviously, when you see a guy, because you just saw him, I guess, by the regular season, by the time you joined the team. I'm just curious what you look for specifically in a guy, maybe in the offseason program, to kind of project what they're going to be like during the regular season.
Talking about just in general?
Just in general, just like how they work, how they practice, and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's the focus, right? This is what this spring has been about. It's the focusing on the fundamentals, focusing on scheme. So just really looking for the guys when they show up off of a long weekend, they've had information at their disposal over the weekend that they can look over. So we just kind of really expect them to come in and for our installs to be reviews because they've looked over the material. And so that's what I've seen from this group, just a real professionalism in the way they come to work.
The running back Sheridan, is he giving you, in first impressions, is he giving you the sense that he can be an NFL caliber running back?
I don't know that. We'll see. He's going to get a lot of opportunities this preseason.
What did you learn about your team the day you're at the Speedway last week?
Oh, competitive. You know, we had a pit stop competition. That was fantastic. I was able to hop into one group. We didn't fare so well. But, you know, just seeing the guys who would, you know, step up, the ones who would take the drill, the gun, you know, and that's kind of like the pressure's on you to get these wheels on. So seeing that, and also just seeing a group that loves to have fun with each other. So Kevin Winston, our player engagement director, he did an amazing job. And then Mr. Hendrick just really rolled out the red carpet for us. They fed us there. Jeff Gordon spoke to the team for about 10 minutes talking about championship culture. And the guys were just hungry for that, you know, and I didn't have to say anything. I got up there. I'm like, Jeff passes me the mic and I'm like, I have nothing else to say, guys. Did you hear it from him? So it was just a really cool moment for us to be around that type of environment.
Last week you talked about kickoffs. With the new rule, do you feel like it could allow different body types to be a returner in this with the closeness to the kickoff team?
I think so. And really it's just because of how quickly that play hits, you know, it's really going to be the advantage is going to be for the guys who have great field vision. And these ones, again, it's going to be 100 some odd ops, I think, this year to really touch the ball. So the returner really should get excited. Those guys should get excited for competing for that job as we get into camp and as we hit some of those preseason situations where they have the live reps. That's a real spot for us, you know, to get 100 touches. Like that's a good amount, you know, whether you're a running back or a receiver or whatever that is, you know. So it's a really cool position that comes alive with the new rules.
To follow up on that, does that have you looking at the position differently? Like if you have a returner who's a running back or a wide receiver, is that their primary role and you don't necessarily want to use them on offense because that's gonna, I mean, you know, we always used to talk about with running backs, 300 touches, you see a drop off there. Is that something you have to kind of consider as well?
I'm sure we will, but I think that the guys who value this opportunity, you know, are going to come from, you know, somewhere in the depth of the running back room, somewhere in the depth of the receiver or the DB room. We have some guys who can really do stuff with the ball on that side of it as well. But it is something to think about, you know, in terms of, you know, is this a starter? How much do we want them back there in this, you know, type of play? But it's just a great opportunity for somebody.
Did Xavier's hamstring end up being a little more involved than initially thought?
No, not really. It's just any hamstring. So, like, again, we're looking at the time really getting shorter and shorter to when we go to camp. So we just really can't afford to say, well, it's good enough. I think if we're playing a game this week, he's practicing and we're getting ready to go. But right now, this is not the time to test that, you know. So I think being cautious on that side, looking towards training camp is the right thing to do.
You mentioned that this is kind of a final exam for the team. What
Yeah.
do you need to see by tomorrow before they break?
Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of it today, and really the challenge that I had was the operation needs to be to NFL standard. The tempo between plays, getting the calls, getting to the line, the defense, getting their call, getting lined up, evaluating the formations, evaluating the personnel, those types of things. That's really what I'm trying to look for because we do need to come into camp and be able to pick up right where we left off from a tempo standpoint, from a pre-snap standpoint. So we're looking for that pre-snap perfection. It was pretty good today. We had a couple of flags down the field, guys tugging, grabbing, pushing off, some of those things like that, which we'll clean up. But from a procedural and operational standpoint, today was a great step, and I hope we get to take another jump tomorrow.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.